Hello, YouTube! I'm here at the zoo, and I'm going to tell you about my first web application. I just made this thing, and I've kind of been teaching myself web development from scratch over the last 2 or 3 weeks and trying to at least learn the basics. And now I have an actual app that's stored on a server where you can click these different buttons representing how many games I've beaten in UFO 50, which is a real video game. And I'm going to show you how this thing was made, all the different components that I had to learn to piece this together into a functioning application here at the zoo. So let's get started with JavaScript and HTML. So the first thing I had to do is learn JavaScript, because I never actually really learned this ever. So I did a whole bunch of these like little practice tutorials and then wrote down like a cheat sheet of all the core things I would need to use, like how you update what's happening in a web app and all that. I did the same thing with CSS. So I learned how to do flex boxes and grids and all this stuff and how you make things look all right. So to start out, we have an index.html file. This is going to be like what displays the core web application. If we start out like this, it looks like that. And you can see that I made a background and it looks pretty good. But here's the crazy part. If I add in this header element, now there's a title. Holy cinema, dude. Now the real thing we need is for the 50 images. So I photoshopped all the images together and then we need something to contain them. That's where a grid comes in. Cue the dramatic music. Okay, so we make an HTML element, and what we're gonna do is we're going to turn it into a CSS grid. And not only are we gonna make it a grid, we're gonna say we want 10 columns in that grid. So now if we save this, we go back, our images have actually loaded. Holy, dude. All right, that looks okay, but here's a problem. If I move the size of my app, the icons don't change. That looks like dog. What we really need to do is in our grid settings, instead of just saying there's 10 columns no matter what, we set it to autofill. It fills as many columns in as it can with the given space. It looks the same to start, but now check this out. As I scroll it, it starts to shrink. Look at that. If we want to make this even fancier, we can go down here and add settings that say for certain dimensions of a device that you're looking on, it'll change even further. So now it's actually like on a phone, it'll be sized correctly and it changes proportionally. Holy. And lastly, chat, give me the name of an animal. Okay, tiger. What we'll do is we'll make the background a linear gradient repeating. And now look at this. It's just like the actual game. Okay, so it looks great, but if I click things, nothing happens. What we really want to do is that if you click a game, right, the state changes. It goes from an unfinished game to a half-finished game to a finished game. And the way you do that is with JavaScript, which I just learned. Specifically in JavaScript, we set up an event listener on clicking so that if one of these buttons is clicked, then a piece of code will run. And in that piece of code, we are going to change the state of that HTML element. If it's currently unfinished, it goes to finished. If it's currently half finished, goes to finished, and yada yada. And then we can update the game's visuals to match that. So now if I save and I click one of these things, it will actually transition to that other state and update the visuals appropriately. And I can do that with all these different games. Isn't that neat? If the clients are you, the person accessing the app, what we really need is a server, right? We need like a shared destination. Oh, sorry about that. Here. We need a shared destination on the internet, which is like a machine that's responsible for coordinating between everybody, right? And that is going to be Vercel. So this is this service where all you have to do is you upload your app to GitHub, and then in Vercel, you can link it. And now this website for a brisk, like, I don't know, 20 bucks or something, hashtag ad, I'm not sponsored by them, you automatically can have your app like deployed on the internet, which means right now you can just go to this UFO 50 tracker at vercelapp.com, which means anytime one of you guys, a client, tries to talk to Vercel, Vercel can actually send you the website back. That's cool. But really what we need is a place to store all the information as well of like, what is the state of all the games? So inside of Vercel, we're going to have Redis as our database. Basically, Redis is going to have the information about the state of all 50 games. And then when you, a random client chatter, talk to the app, it's going to look into its database, get the state of the server, and send that back to you, which means it's going to look like this. Because if I refresh right now, everything is going to change because anybody who goes to this website can make their own changes, and whenever you refresh, you will ask the server for all the current information and it will send it to you. So right now, thousands of people can all be using this app, changing the values simultaneously, and all you got to do is refresh and look, it completely changes. How cool is that? We now have a fully functioning web app. Check that shit out. Oh, sorry, could you? Yeah, let's get them out of there. All right. Rate limiting! Okay, but how does that server interaction actually happen in the code? If I click something, that's going to trigger the JavaScript code. Now, the JavaScript code is this click event here. We've already changed the status of the HTML element locally, But what we really want to do is send that information to the server so the server knows and can tell other people what's going on. So that's what we do here. We send an HTTP request to our API route called status, and it's going to say, hey, this is the data of the game we just changed and what we changed it to. And so that's why you have this server code. So this is representing a slot on the server that you can talk to. And in this case, if the request is a post, meaning that the client, the user, is trying to tell the server, hey, I updated the information, we're going to check to make sure they're a valid user. We're going to make sure that they gave us valid information, all the boring stuff. But then we're going to go to the database and say, we want you to update the data with this new information. And we do that here via the Redis stuff. And then we go back to the client. We say, hey, we did it. And through that, it allows the clients to all be talking to the server and have that information that's processed there, be in the Redis database, and get sent back to the client. But there's obviously one thing missing. So what we really need for the server to make sense, hey, get out of here, hey! For the server to make sense is that when you update the database, everybody else sees the update, right? And that is where Pusher comes in. Pusher is another service that we are going to use to send updates to everybody. So when you, the client, tell my server, hey, I just updated something, Vercel will tell Pusher, who will then in turn tell all of you guys so that your screen automatically updates. Now in the code on the client side, this just means that when you first start the app, you start listening to a Pusher channel. And you basically say, hey, if there's any updates there, let me know. On the server side, we're doing the same thing, except when we update a game status on the server, we are then going to tell Pusher, hey, we just saw an update. Here's what it is. I want you to tell everybody out there what just happened. Back on the client, if you are told, hey, there was an update, you update it on your side. Now with all of these pieces combined together, if I go ahead and I push these last changes to GitHub, on GitHub, the new code sparks an update on Vercel, which posts, which means Redis is activated and Pusher's activated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to ufo50.dougdog.com, you will see a fully functioning web app with everything updating in real time. You download it locally, you talk to the server updates the database and pushes it to everyone simultaneously. This is a live real web app, and I hope you enjoyed checking it out. This is cool as hell. Thanks for watching.